Chapter 1. From the very moment I drew my first breath, I intuitively understood the intricacies of my destiny. In a world brimming with uncertainty, while some wander through life searching for their place, there are those, like me, who enter it with a profound inherent calling. I was born to two guardians, the mightiest warriors our pack had ever known, and it was clear that I was destined to follow in their formidable footsteps. My parents were fated mates, a bond more potent than any mere connection. They were two halves of the same soul, eternally entwined. Most werewolves embark on a lifelong pilgrimage seeking their true mate, the person who completes them. While a few reject this bond, viewing it as a vulnerability, the overwhelming majority find their strength magnified by it. My parents epitomized this. Their union made them an indomitable force. As guardians, they bore the solemn responsibility of safeguarding our Alpha Anders, along with his beautiful mate, Luna Callista, and their young son Rick, the heir to our legacy as future Alpha. It was during a vicious assault from a rival pack, emboldened by the misguided belief that they could usurp our Alpha, that I bore witness to true sacrifice. In my tender age of 5, I lost my mother, a valiant warrior who gave her life to protect our Luna and her precious child. The battle raged like a tempest around us, fierce and unrelenting. My father, meanwhile, stood resolute, defending Alpha Anders with every ounce of strength he possessed. He faced 5 wolves, ferocity igniting in the heat of combat, the air thick with violence. Together, they fought valiantly until reinforcements finally arrived. But the moment my mother fell, severed from him by death, my father's spirit wavered. In that instant of vulnerability, a rival wolf leaped upon him, clawing for dominance. My father, once a proud warrior, lost the battle against despair. The wolf sank its teeth into his back, delivering a blow that would shatter not only his spine but the very essence of who he was. Werewolves are known for their resilience, able to mend cuts, bruises, even the occasional fracture, but some wounds run too deep to heal. As the ache of loss coursed through him, his body betrayed him, rendering him paralyzed. From that harrowing day onward, my father became a mere shadow of his former self. While countless wolves might have succumbed to the weight of such tragedy, he persevered, fueled only by his love for me. I became his reason for living, a flicker of the hope he clung to in the darkness. Though his devotion was unwavering, the price he paid was steep. He lost not only the love of his life, but also the freedom of movement, the glory of his warrior status, and most devastating of all, he lost his very identity. As I stand at the cusp of my own fate, preparing to embrace my role in this jagged tapestry of life, I cannot shake the feeling that the currents of my destiny are shifting. Unbeknownst to me, a storm is brewing on the horizon, an unforeseen challenge that would alter the course of my existence entirely. With my heart tethered between the expectations of the past and the uncertainties of the future, I find myself on a precipice, waiting to discover what it truly means to be a guardian. Would I fulfill my duty to Rick, their radiant son, or would I forge my own path amid 2 vying alphas who both yearn for my heart? The answers lurked just beyond my reach, like whispers carried by the winds of fate. As I navigate the bustling corridors of my high school, the scent of freshly polished floors and laughter fills the air. My fellow warriors, clad in their distinctive insignia, call out to me, their voices blending into a lively hum. I lift a hand, offering them a wave, acknowledging their presence while my mind races with thoughts of the day ahead. Just then, Jason, my closest ally and confidant, breaks away from the throng, his pace quickening to keep in step with me. "Hey, little badass. What's the plan after school?" he asks with a grin, his energy palpable. "Don't call me that," I reply, irritation lacing my words. "I despise that nickname." He chuckles, his laughter echoing between the lockers. "Newsflash, the entire squad thinks it suits you perfectly after your little show yesterday. You might as well embrace it." A wave of disbelief washes over me, and I halt, turning to meet his gaze. "Please tell me you're kidding," but the serious tilt of his lips reveals the unfunny truth. "Great, just what I needed." Jason continues, undeterred by my reaction. "So what are you up to after school then?" "Oh, you know," I shrug, feigning nonchalance, "just the usual, hanging out with Dad." He raises an eyebrow, a teasing smirk dancing on his lips. "By hanging out, you mean training with the fiercest warrior this pack has ever known? That's quite the privilege you've got there." My response is a sidelong glance at Alpha Rick, who stands confidently at the far end of the hallway, flanked by his entourage of admirers. Looks like the harem is still expanding, I comment, my chin jerking in his direction, deliberately avoiding his probing question about my training regime with my father. Yes, I train under my dad's watchful eye every day. My path was etched in stone the moment I took my first breath. My destiny is to be the strongest, the fastest, a warrior more formidable than even my parents. My legacy is to guard our alpha, to stand as a sentinel just as my father has done for years. Yet, a gnawing frustration accompanies that knowledge, our future alpha, the embodiment of strength and authority, doesn't even know my name. How does an alpha overlook the daughter of the two individuals who stand as the very pillars of his existence? My parents' sacrifices are the reason he has the freedom to indulge in whatever whims he pleases, to prance about as the self-proclaimed heartthrob of the pack. And somehow, I am destined to protect that insufferable alpha one day. I shake my head. I cannot fault him entirely. Showing off is part of the alpha package. But there's no denying that Alpha Rick possesses an allure, with his midnight black hair cascading just past his shoulders and a meticulously groomed beard that accentuates his strong jawline. Those ice-blue eyes, reminiscent of glaciers, cut through his sun-kissed skin, entrancing those around him. His imposing 6'4" frame, defined by broad shoulders and powerful limbs, dismisses any notions of weakness. Every unmated female in our pack, and those from neighboring territories, likely harbors dreams of being chosen as our future Luna, or at the very least of being the lucky one to call him their own. I watch him, standing proud amongst his admirers, radiating a magnetic mix of arrogance and strength. His name speaks volumes. Rick, meaning brave, a fitting tribute to the legacy of his lineage. The Alpha lineage, where all men are bestowed names deifying courage and valor. Our pack commands respect, renowned as one of the strongest in the nation, led by a man who embodies honor and ferocity. But then there's our future Alpha, whose reputation still hangs in the balance. He's undeniably strong. I've witnessed his prowess in training. He's a beast, one shaped by the very genes of an alpha. For me, though, the bar is set higher. I know I must outsmart and outwork every alpha if I'm to fulfill my duty as his protector. It's daunting, especially when I stand at a slight 54, where my stature often leads others to underestimate my abilities. They quickly learn, however, I'm hardly an easy target, having triumphed over my fellow warriors, earning both respect and recognition from Alpha Anders. His morning training sessions before school have become a rite of passage for me, while my afternoons are spent honing my skills with my father. I refuse, however, to be just another admirer of Rick's harem. Perhaps it's my own sense of pride, but I envision myself as his guardian, not a fleeting dalliance. I refuse to tarnish my future mate's name by becoming yet another notch on Rick's belt. We all possess a mate out there, someone destined for us. I intend to maintain my honor and not sweep through a series of whirlwind romances that would ultimately reflect poorly on my future partner. My heart has already chosen its path, even before laying eyes on him. Thank the moon we're on the same page with this, my wolf Artemis chimes in eagerly. I wouldn't let you off easy if you even thought about offending our mate. Can you imagine the day we finally meet him? I'm far less enthusiastic about that prospect than Artemis, but my wolf is relentless. Save it, Artemis, this is also unexpected, I reply silently, turning my attention away from the magnetic pull of Alpha Rick, who has seemingly caught my gaze. Suddenly, our eyes lock, his piercing blue gaze sending a shiver down my spine that feels like an electric current. What was that? What the hell was that? I demand of Artemis, bewildered by the intensity of the moment. I don't know, maybe it's an alpha thing? I flip mentally at her absurd response. You're not helping. It's instinct, it's beyond me. I push her thoughts aside, forcing myself to turn back to Jason, who has clearly been trying to hold my attention. Sorry, what were you saying? Kara, are you even with me? I was talking about the ever-growing harem around Alpha Rick as he gets closer to his 18th birthday. Everyone is holding on to the hope that they'll be chosen as his mate. Yes, but you know as well as I do that there can be only one, I say with a playful smirk, channeling my inner Highlander. I can't help but tease him. He has an undeniable soft spot for those classic films. Nice one, he laughs, nonchalantly throwing an arm over my shoulders as he leads me to our next class, which just happens to be the same as his. As we pass a cluster of fellow pack members, they simultaneously chant, "Little Badass." Their call rings in my ears, reinforcing Jason's earlier proclamation. "Just accept it, Kara. If the nickname fits," he insists, a hint of laughter lacing his words. "Fine. It's not like I have a choice now, is it?" I huff. "That's the spirit," he encourages, and then, as if eager to return to his original question, he asks, "So, what are your plans for after school?" I groan, dragging out my response. "Which was?" "Oh, come on," he exclaims, shaking his head in disbelief. "What are you doing later?" Right, I sigh, recalling our Thursday ritual. "Well, it's Thursday. You know Alpha Anders comes over for dinner with Dad and me on Thursdays, so after training I'll be cooking, then tackling homework." His eyes widen in realization. "Oh, I forgot it was Thursday, but we're still on for clubbing tomorrow night, right?" "Always ready to blow off some steam," I assure him, a smile creeping onto my lips. "Excellent." He beams as we step into our classroom, the chatter of students fading into the background. As the teacher walks in and class begins, my thoughts drift back, caught between the thrill of the evening ahead and the weight of my destiny, a balance of duty, friendship, and uncharted territory that lies ahead. Restore scroll position, only a few months left of school and I'm done. I'll turn 18 in a couple of weeks, and if all goes well, I'll meet my mate, and then Dad can hand over the title of Alpha to me after I graduate. I meet up with Chase, my best friend and my future beta, when I walk into the kitchen of the pack house. "Hey man, what's up?" "Morning, Alpha, how's it hanging?" he asks me with a smirk. Bastard must have seen Sheila sneaking out earlier. I smirk back as I sip my coffee. "No blue balls here." He laughs outright. "Yeah, you know, if your mom catches you." He doesn't have to finish his sentence. We both know my mother would skin me alive. She wants me to wait for my mate. "She won't," I reply. "What were you doing up so early anyway?" He takes a sip of his coffee, looking sheepish before answering. "No blue balls on me either, my friend, but at least I'll walk the girl to her car." I smile at my best friend before grabbing my keys, ignoring his jab. "You riding with me today?" "Yep," he answers as he follows me out. The ride to school is short. It's on the border between our pack lands and the Shadow Falls pack. It's about a 15-minute drive from the pack house where Chase and I live. He lives on the 3rd floor with his family, the beta's floor. I live on the 4th floor with my parents, the space allotted for the Alpha family. Our Gamma family lives on the 2nd floor. The floors for the ranked wolves are all on the left side of the pack house. The right side also has rooms on the 2nd through 4th floors for guests and unmated warriors that choose to live here rather than in a separate home. The 1st floor has a large kitchen and dining room, along with a rec room, living room and conference rooms for when we have large gatherings in the pack. Omegas who choose to live in the pack house are provided housing on the 1st floor as well. Our pack, the Canyon Ridge Pack, is the 2nd largest in the country with well over 500 pack members. And even though we're not the largest, we are by far the strongest. My father is a powerful alpha. I am a strong and powerful alpha heir, and technically, we have 2 guardians, although I've never met the daughter of the man and woman that saved my family's life. I've heard the stories my entire life. My mother created a memorial for Lily Nelson, the guardian that gave her life to save both my mother and me. She visits the memorial at least once a week to leave fresh flowers, and, as she says, to let Lily know that her sacrifice is not forgotten and was not in vain. I say my own silent thank you to Mrs. Nelson, and I promise to look after Kara for her. My father has dinner with Clint Nelson every week. I've attempted to join my father, but he says this is his time with Clint. Even my mother does not join them. Dad has been trying to get Clint to become more active in the pack for years, even offering him a position as lead trainer for our warriors, but he won't budge. Somewhere along the line he was labeled as the broken warrior. While my father threatened to punish anyone that called Mr. Nelson by that name, it didn't matter, the name stuck. I can understand why. He was the best warrior in our pack, and now he's a paraplegic. He's been in a wheelchair for nearly 13 years. He and his daughter live right on the edge of our packlands, and the entire pack has been ordered to give them space. The daughter is around my age, according to my mother. I guess she spends all her time taking care of her father. We pull into the school parking lot and head into school. Chase and I are immediately surrounded by females. They are all hoping to be the next Luna or Beta female. Most would just be happy to say they slept with one or both of us and were happy to oblige. However, I would never take any of them as my Luna unless she was my fated mate. but I'd be hard-pressed to take a mate that had happily slept with me and or my beta and who knows how many other men. Is it a double standard? Yep. Do I care? Nope. Hey, Rick. Got any plans for the weekend? A redhead asks. I think her name is Jessica, and I'm pretty sure she has slept with both Chase and I. One look at Chase, and I know I'm right. Not yet, why? Well, my friends and I are going to Dark Moon on Friday, and we were hoping you and Chase would like to join us. It'll be a lot of fun. She tries to give me a seductive look, and I know what kind of fun she's referencing. I look at Chase again, and I can see we're in sync. Yeah, I think we can make it. Her face lights up like I just gave her the best present ever. Excellent. Her friend leans into me. You won't regret it, she whispers to me. I look at her friend. I'm sure I won't. They turn down one of the side hallways, Jessica walking backward. See you later, Alpha, Beta. I wink at her. Later. As Chase and I head to class, he looks over at me. Well, that sounds promising. I smile at him. Definitely. After lunch, Chase and I are surrounded by a group of friends and even more females. The girls are all chatting away about going dancing tomorrow night. Now it looks like half of my pack and half of the Shadow Falls pack, our neighboring pack, led by Alpha Liam, are all going to the club tomorrow night. I feel like someone is watching me, and I look up, and I'm locked into the most beautiful green eyes. My breath catches, and I forget how to breathe for a minute. She's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Beautiful brown hair with big thick curls, eyes like emeralds, and a mouth made for kissing. My wolf, Kai, sits up and tries to push forward. Kai. What's going on? I don't know, I like her, he responds, and I swear he's wagging his damn tail. Since Kai has never shown an interest in any female, this is surprising. I turn to my future beta. Chase, who's that girl? I nod my head in her direction as I see a guy wrap his arm around her neck and the two of them walk off together. I have to clamp my mouth shut as Kai tries to growl. Seriously, Kai, what the fuck? I want to meet her, go introduce yourself. That boy is no match for us, we're alphas. Dude, calm down, we're in the middle of school. I push him into the back of my mind when Chase responds, You mean the brunette? No idea, but she's definitely your type. She's got that curly hair you go for. He's right, I love it when a girl has their hair in those loose curls, and hers looks like silk. He looks back at me. Want me to find out? He asks. Nah, I'll just ask her myself when I see her again. I give him a grin that says that I'll have her eating out of my hand by the end of the day as the bell rings and we all head to our next class. Share to your friends Chapter 3 tip. You can use left, right keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Tap the middle of the screen to reveal reading options. If you find any errors, non-standard content, ads redirect, broken links, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Report. The final bell rang, heralding the end of another long school day, and I trudged towards my locker, the familiar cacophony of students fading into the background. Today, Jason was my ride, his week to navigate the twisty roads to our school. I began the process of organizing my books for homework when a sudden shadow cast itself over me. I glanced up to find myself face to face with Alpha Rick, his glacial blue eyes piercing through the evening air. Wonderful. What could my future Alpha possibly want now? I took a moment to temper the impatience and irritation bubbling inside me. No sense in riling up the very person I might be tethered to for life. With a steadying breath, I summoned my best polite tone. Alpha, how can I assist you? I was proud of how convincingly uninterested I managed to sound. Hey there, beautiful, he began, flashing a grin that was all charm and no substance. I don't believe I've seen you around before. Seriously, this was his pickup line? Like we hadn't shared the same classrooms for years on end? I tilted my head, donning a facade of faux innocence. I guess you haven't. It's hard to see past your legion of adoring fans. Closing my locker, I leaned against it, adopting a casual posture. Feeling a bit mischievous, I batted my eyelashes at him. You are an alpha, right? I emphasized the R, giving him my most innocent, starry-eyed look. I am, sweetheart, he replied, a smirk dancing on his lips. But don't let my aura intimidate you. I hear it can be a bit overwhelming. Wow. He had a serious opinion of himself. Even Artemis, my guardian spirit, snickered in my mind. This guy was underestimating me. Guardians were immune to that supposed alpha command, a product of history where alphas grew overly fond of their guardians, sometimes commanding them to stand down even at the cost of their lives. Over time, our resistance had become a fact. As for Rick, he seemed blissfully unaware of my heritage or the sacrifices my family had made for his pack. Feeling his aura wash over me like a warm wave, I suppressed a smirk. He had no clue who I was, and I had every intention of keeping it that way. "Oh wow," I proclaimed, placing my hand over my heart as if I were about to swoon. "It's really nice to meet you." Artemis chimed in with a teasing tone, laying it on a bit thick, "Aren't you?" Maybe I was, but honestly an alpha should recognize his own pack members. It felt almost criminal that he stood there, oblivious to my existence, especially given my family's loyalty to his. He extended his hand, the smirk still plastered across his face. "I'm Rick, alpha heir of the Canyon Ridge Pack. Perhaps you've heard of me." I gave my best imitation of an awestruck gasp. "Oh my, it's nice to meet you," I replied, forcing a sense of excitement into my voice as I clasped his hand. To my utter surprise, a curious spark jolted through me, an unexpected shock that made the hair on my arms stand at attention. The sensation was strangely pleasant, but it caught me off guard. Rick's eyes widened for just a moment, mirroring my own shock, and I couldn't help but wonder if he felt it too. Maybe it was just static from the locker. Staring into my eyes, he finally spoke again, refusing to release my hand. "It's customary in my culture to introduce yourself in return when someone introduces themselves." His charming smile suggested that mesmerizing women was merely another one of his many skills. Perhaps it was, with his entourage of brainless admirers, making an impression was probably a walk in the park. However, I was not among those hapless souls. Just as I was about to introduce myself, a familiar voice broke the tension. "Hey, Ka," Jason called out. I swiftly interrupted him. "Hey Jason, do you know Alpha Rick?" I shot him a glare. Hoping he would read my mind, Jason's confusion was evident as he glanced between us. Of course, Alpha Rick is from my pack and is my future alpha. A wave of relief washed over me. Jason was a lifesaver, unwittingly playing along with my charade. "Alpha," he acknowledged, bowing his head in respectful submission. "Jason," Rick nodded back, "I was just introducing myself to your friend here." He turned back to me, an air of faux charming authority about him. "So, sweetheart, what's your name and what pack are you from?" At this point, I felt my temper flare. He genuinely didn't know who I was. A corner of my eye caught Jason flinch slightly at Rick's dismissive tone. It was time to take action. "What makes you think I'm not from your pack?" I shot back, raising an eyebrow and adopting a tone that was leaning far more towards snarky than innocent. Rick regarded me with that typical condescending alpha gaze, arching his brow in return. "Well, sweetheart, I know every member of my pack and I don't know you." Arrogance dripped from his voice. I could feel it rising within me, swirling along the lines of my patience. In a sudden burst of confidence, I leaned closer, placing my hand against his chest, a chiseled, warm surface that felt almost made of stone. Seriously, were all alphas this solid? I had to stifle the urge to explore more of his physique. "Come on, focus, Car." Rising on my tiptoes, I leaned in to whisper in his ear. "Well, obviously, you don't know every member. And my name is Sweetheart." I swore I heard his breath hitch before I pulled away and started to walk off. "Let's go, Jay, I need to get home." Once we were in Jason's car, he glanced at me with concern. "Okay, what was that all about? Why are you allowing Alpha Rick to think you're from some other pack?" "I'm not," I insisted, shaking my head. "Rick initiated that little chat. He clearly has no idea who I am, and now he's going to act like he knows every member of his pack." My frustration bubbled over. "I can't just let that slide, Jay. He's the future alpha, for crying out loud. If he's going to strut around with that much arrogance, he should have the knowledge to back it up. Why not just tell him who you are?" Jason countered, incredulity etched across his features. I gaped at him, my jaw practically hitting the floor. "Are you kidding me right now?" "I'm just saying be careful, Car," he replied earnestly, his eyes pleading. "Of what, Jay? That reality might dawn on him and he'll turn hostile. I'm in the right here. And let's be honest, in a straight-up fight, I could probably take him. Not that Alpha Anders would ever let me get that close to a showdown." As we followed the winding road towards my house, Jason's brows furrowed with thought. "You will probably be connected to him at some point, so it's best not to make an enemy of him before that happens. He might find a way to complicate your life." He had a point. When Rick ascended to Alpha, if I remained without a mate, my duty as his guardian would begin. The prospect of spending endless hours alongside the self-important Alpha and his entourage filled me with dread. "Okay, Jason, fine. If he approaches me again, I'll try to be nice." The skeptical look on my best friend's face told me he didn't believe my half-hearted pledge. "What? I can be nice in the sandbox, I defended. Jason snorted. Yeah, but only if it's your sandbox and you have all the toys. I shrugged, smirking at him. What's your point? He rolled his eyes as he pulled up to my house. See you tomorrow. I waved goodbye, heading inside to prepare for my afternoon training with my dad, my mind still buzzing with the encounter I'd just had. Chapter 5 confusion swirled in my mind like a tempest when the realization struck me. I didn't recognize every member of my pack. How was it possible that she was part of our family? My father's voice echoed in my thoughts, a relentless mantra since my childhood. Know every member of your pack by name. They are what makes the pack strong. Show them how much you value them, and they will always remain loyal. With those words ringing in my ears, I stormed toward my car, anxiety twisting in my gut. Who could she be? I racked my brain, recalling the way she had stood her ground, her eyes fierce and unyielding. Strangely, she had never submitted to me, an unspoken rule all she-wolves knew to follow. Why hadn't she? And to think I didn't even learn her name. I was so engulfed in my thoughts that I nearly collided with Chase. Hey Rick, did you catch her? He asked, a sharp edge of excitement in his voice. I looked at him, frowning. Huh, the brunette from earlier. Did you get her name and what pack she belongs to? Chase's eyes sparkled with curiosity, but I was still lost in my turmoil. Ignoring his question, I leaned over the car, searching his face for any sign of recognition. Did you recognize her? He settled. Into the passenger seat, his brow knitted. No, I only caught a glimpse of her back. Why? I revved the engine, urgency lacing my tone. She implied she's part of our pack, I confessed, the weight of the revelation sitting heavy on my shoulders. What's the problem? He pressed, clearly puzzled. The problem, I snarled, teeth clenched, is that I didn't recognize her. How can she be part of our pack if I don't know who she is? As I rolled to a stop at a red light, I saw the shock on Chase's face mirrored my own frustration. What do you mean you didn't recognize her? You know everyone in the pack? Hell, I know everyone in the pack. You've made sure of that. His voice echoed with disbelief. The light flickered back to green and I stomped on the accelerator, the frustration boiling over. Exactly, how is this even possible? I know it sounds far-fetched, but do you think she might have been lying? Chase suggested, trying to rationalize the situation. I shot him a look that screamed disbelief. You think she's just a she-wolf hiding from potential mates? That's crazy. I know it sounds wild, but some she-wolves wait for their true mate and worry about offending others if they're not interested. Maybe she was protecting herself. His words hung in the air until I added Jason into the mix of my swirling thoughts. But she's friends with Jason. Jason Elkove? Chase's eyes widened in recognition. How do you know that? Yep, apparently they know each other pretty well. I felt a new urgency pressing down on me, yet despite having seen the girl, she didn't give off any indication of being trained. Chase crossed his arms, deep in thought. But she has to train, right? That's mandatory for pack members. You and I run the sessions, we would have seen her. My mind raced, each memory of our practices flashing before me like snapshots. I had been to every event, every gathering, and led training sessions without fail. How could I possibly not know a she-wolf who bore such striking features? That hair, those captivating eyes, they clung to me like a haunting echo. What was that connection when we touched? I pondered aloud. The spark had felt almost primal, like a thread connecting our souls. But I wasn't old enough to feel the mate bond yet, nor did she seem to be. So, what was it? Why don't you just ask Jason about her during training this afternoon? Chase suggested lightly, as though it were the simplest solution. I shot him a glare that spoke volumes. First of all, I'm an alpha, I do. Chase after girls, they come to me. Secondly, I don't need to consult a warrior about a she-wolf. I'll uncover the mystery myself. Chase shrugged, unbothered. All right, but keep an eye out. If you see her again tomorrow, point her out. Maybe I'll know her. Thanks, man, I appreciate it. I instinctively reached out, and we exchanged a fist bump, a silent promise of loyalty between friends. Once training wound down, I made my way back to my room for a quick shower before dinner. But as I descended the stairs, I found myself face to face with my mother. Rick, how was your day, honey? Her comforting smile brought warmth to my otherwise troubled heart. Leaning down, I pressed a kiss to her cheek, my tall frame bowing to her petite stature. It was good, Mom. I'm headed down to dinner. She placed a gentle hand on my cheek, stopping me in my tracks. I'm going to Lily's memorial tonight to lay fresh flowers. Will you join me again, since your dad is having dinner with Mr. Nelson? Her tone dripped with an expectation that made me chuckle. Hadn't it become a tradition between us over the past 13 years? I had accompanied her weekly laying flowers at Mrs. Nelson's memorial, a silent act of respect for the sacrifices she had made for our family. My father had always insisted he needed his time alone with Mr. Nelson, but I had considered the visit long overdue. Mrs. Nelson had raised a daughter who would one day be my pack member when I took my place as alpha. I wanted her to know that the respect shown by my parents would be reflected in me. The Nelsons should never want for anything. I would see to it, as it was a debt of honor that could never be repaid. I fixed my gaze on my mother, raising an eyebrow at her. "Do you really think I would say no?" She laughed, patting my arm affectionately. "You remind me so much of your father. Now go eat and we'll head out after." Wrapping my arms around her, I let the warmth of family engulf me. "Okay, Mom, I'll see you soon." As I made my way down to the dining room, the aroma of a feast wafted through the air, everything piled high on the buffet. I grabbed a plate, scanning the room with anticipation, hopeful that my mystery brunette would grace us with her presence. Disappointment washed over me when I realized she wasn't among the crowd. Instead, I found a group of warriors engaged in boisterous conversation, and I moved to join them, my heart heavy with unanswered questions. As I stepped across the threshold of our home, the familiar weight of expectations settled upon my shoulders. Father was waiting for me, as he always did, ready to launch into the evening's training regimen he crafted while I toiled away in the classroom. After another grueling day of lectures and assignments, I knew it was time to switch gears from student to fighter. "Hey, Dad," I greeted, placing my backpack on the table with a soft thud and leaning forward to plant a light kiss on his cheek. "Hi, honey, how was school today?" he replied, a warm smile crossing his face. "Pretty good. Classes are getting tougher as the year winds down, but I'm managing." "Still holding onto those straight A's?" he probed, his eyes glinting with pride. My academics were as important to him as my physical prowess. Knowledge was a weapon just as much as training was. "You know it, you can't just rely on muscle, Kara. Your mind needs to be just as sharp," he reminded me, as he often did. My studies revolved around anatomy, physiology, and chemistry. The latter was crucial. Should I ever find myself facing a lethal poison, I needed to know how to discern it and cure myself. Throughout the years, Dad orchestrated some unconventional training exercises. Among them was the troubling task of testing real poisons on myself to observe my body's reactions, always ensuring that the antidote was at the ready, with our pack doctor on speed dial, the epitome of cautious parenting. I didn't relish such days, often left feeling drained and utterly miserable, but I couldn't deny their effectiveness. With every dose of wolfsbane, I felt my body bolstering its defenses. My werewolf healing was a blessing in this regard, burning through the toxins each time. Tonight our focus was agility. Inside, an obstacle course awaited me in my human form. Outside, a parallel challenge echoed with the same threats, but in my wolf form, the stakes escalated. As I navigated the treacherous landscape my father constructed, I would encounter logs hurtling towards me, sharp footholds designed to unbalance and trip me up, and even traps that could ensnare me. The goal wasn't merely survival. It was staying 2 steps ahead of potential injury and honing my instincts to know when to evade or brace for impact. Donovan, Dad's loyal wolf companion, stood guard alongside him, both issuing tips and encouragement as I bounded through the trials, each push of my body demanding more than the last. As always, when training wrapped up, fatigue settled in like an old friend. "Make sure you shower before Alpha Anders arrives. I'll take care of dinner," Dad instructed, finally letting me escape his grueling agenda. I dutifully trotted upstairs, soaking under the cascades of hot water, savoring the way it worked out the knots in my muscles. "We're getting stronger every day," Artemis, my wolf spirit, chimed in, her voice resonating in my mind. I couldn't help but grin. "Absolutely, just look at what we achieved yesterday." If wolves could smile, Artemis surely would be grinning ear to ear. It was our legacy to become guardians, and with parents like mine, I had inherited more than just tenacity. I was forging my own path as a fighter. Once I was dressed casually in jeans and a cozy sweatshirt, my hair hastily tied up in a messy ponytail, the chime of the doorbell echoed through the house, beckoning my attention. Alpha Anders held a special place in my heart, like an uncle I had known all my life. Our dinners had evolved into informal gatherings long ago. Bounding down the stairs, I opened the door and greeted him warmly. "Hey, Anders, come on in." He had often insisted that I forego the formalities, and with a few reminders, even a nod from my dad, I'd finally learned to drop the title. "Your dad's out back getting the grill started. Want a beer?" I offered, stepping aside to let him enter. "Sure, little badass, I'll take one," he chuckled. I rolled my eyes playfully. "Not you, too." "If the name fits," he shot back, his grin widening as he headed towards the back, probably to exchange banter with my father. I snagged a couple of beers from the fridge, checked on Dad to see if he wanted one as well, and made my way out to the deck. They were deep in conversation about my training, and when Alpha Anders glanced my way, he couldn't resist teasing my father. "Did Kara tell you she has a new nickname?" With a dramatic eye roll directed at Anders, I prepared for the inevitable interrogation. "Well," Dad leaned forward, his brows raised. "Apparently I'm a little badass now," I revealed, my tone dripping with sarcasm. My dad's beer halted midair as he eyed Anders with eyebrows raised. "Is that so?" he asked, a playful edge in his voice. "You'll never believe it. She pinned me in just 15 minutes. Alpha Anders declared, his tone laced with admiration. A gleeful smile spread across my father's face, illuminating the pride in his eyes. The apple didn't fall too far. From the tree, Alpha Anders continued, raising his bottle in a toast to my enigmatic triumph. "That's my girl," Dad murmured, his gaze warm and proud. Yet just as quickly the atmosphere dulled. "Clint," Anders said, serious as steel, "I mean it, we need you back at warrior training. I'll beg if I have to." Dad sighed heavily, the lightness dissipating. "Anders, you know I can't." As I turned away with a knowing smile, this debate had danced between them for countless years. Alpha Anders longed for Dad to return to the training grounds, yet Dad felt inadequate, doubting what he could contribute to the pack. Dinner was my department for the night, and I had roasted vegetables on my agenda. Dad had already slipped potatoes into the oven while I showered, and as I checked on them, I began preparing my delectable Brussels sprouts with bacon and a maple glaze. The aroma danced through the kitchen, teasing our appetites. By the time Dad and Alpha Anders filtered back inside, dinner was ready. I finished setting the table, popping open another beer for both men just as everyone claimed their seats. The warmth of camaraderie filled the room as they reminisced about days gone by, tales of past victories, discussions of current pack dynamics, warriors on the rise, and techniques to shape the next generation. Each story was woven with laughter and nostalgia, while Anders never missed an opportunity to hear about my life, subtly probing for updates, though I carefully sidestepped news about Rick. Once the plates had been cleared and laughter faded, we savored the dessert Anders brought, a cherished batch of brownies from Luna Callista. As I took my first bite, an exquisite wave of chocolate enveloped my senses, and I couldn't help but moan in delight. As the last mouthful disappeared, I took the initiative to clear the dishes, washing up while the two men continued their banter about upcoming events. Just before I retreated upstairs, Alpha Anders handed me an envelope, his expression oddly serious. "This is from my wife. You're invited to Rick's 18th birthday bash next weekend. And let me be clear, she'll be sorely disappointed if you don't make an appearance." The envelope felt heavy in my hands as I tore it open, confirming that I was indeed expected at the extravagant event. With a forced smile plastered across my face, I responded, "Of course, I'd love to come." Anders' smirk was infectious, while Dad broke down in laughter at my plight. "Don't look so glum, sweetheart. I'm sure it'll be a blast." Dad chimed, a teasing glimmer in his eyes. Anders turned to Dad, his voice suddenly serious again. "Oh, and Clint, you have a special invitation to my son's party, too, and I'll take it very personally if you decide not to show up." The jovial atmosphere abruptly shifted as my father glared at Anders with all humor extinguished. I couldn't help but snicker, glancing at Dad. "Looks like you're my plus one." Bidding good night to the two men, I retreated upstairs, ready to tackle my homework. Their voices faded into murmurs as they lingered late into the night, with Anders promising to return for next week's dinner. As I nestled into bed, sleep beckoning, I didn't quite know what awaited me at Rick's party, but change was in the air, and I could almost feel the dawning of new challenges on the horizon. The air was crisp and charged with an unspoken reverence as my mother, and I stepped into the sacred grounds of the memorial dedicated to Lily Nelson. This wasn't just a single statue. It was a hallowed site that honored all our warriors and pack members who had selflessly given their lives to protect the community. Yet, among them all, Lily's memorial was the most prominent. A striking stone statue of a woman adorned with angelic wings, vigilantly guarding her beloved wolf pack. Every week we made a pilgrimage to this spot, presenting an array of flowers and plants to breathe life back into its solemn beauty. This week, my mother held a bouquet of vibrant poinsettias, delicate winter jasmine, cheerful winter aconite, and pure white snowdrops. Approaching the statue, she lifted her hand to gently touch the entwined hands of the likeness, whispering, "Thank you, Lily, for your sacrifice. I promised I'd never forget, and I never will." As we fell into a quiet rhythm of tending to the memorial, brushing away the remnants of snow, uprooting the wilted blooms and replacing them with our offerings, curiosity tugged at me. "Mom, have you ever met Lily Nelson's daughter?" I ventured. "Kara, of course, sweetie, haven't you?" She looked up from her task, surprise flitting across her features. I shook my head, unfamiliar with the daughter who carried the weight of such a legacy. "I don't think so. What's she like?" Mom continued her gardening, her voice steady and warm. "She's a lovely girl, quiet but smart. She resembles her mother, but she's got her father's eyes." Her gaze drifted momentarily, enveloped in a memory. Lily was a force to be reckoned with, strong and beautiful. She wouldn't take nonsense from anyone, even your father. "What?" My heart raced. This was news to me. Mom chuckled softly, plucking a remnant of an old flower. "There was this time, your father needed warriors to accompany him to confront another pack that had been making threats against us. He thought Lily should stay behind, being pregnant with Kara and all. But you know, Lily, being pregnant didn't make her any less of a guardian in her eyes. So she told your father that if he thought he could just leave her behind during such a critical moment, he had another thing coming." She paused again, a chuckle escaping her lips as she recalled the tale. "He attempted to assert his alpha command over her, but she stood her ground, so in true Lily fashion she challenged him to a fight. If he won, she would stay, but if she won, he would let her join him." "Did he lose?" I inquired, the tension in the air thickening around us. "Lose? Oh, my dear, it was like watching a whirlwind," she burst out laughing, her eyes sparkling with nostalgia. "Lily had him subdued in under 15 minutes. Your father, strong and confident as he was, could hardly believe it. Clint just sat back, grinning like a proud husband, watching Lily best your father as if it were the simplest of tasks. They went to meet the other pack together, Lily included, showcasing our might with not just one, but 2 guardians at full strength. Even the alpha of the opposing pack had no choice but to back down. As the story resonated in my ears, I wanted to know more. "What happened to the other pack?" Mom's expression grew somber. "The alpha was ambitious but foolish. He would later challenge Alpha Leander, mistakenly believing that our pack's strength was diminished without guardians by his side. He was sorely mistaken. Leander prevailed, and the opposing Alpha was killed, resulting in their lands merging with ours. The Shadow Falls pack grew stronger, but they paid a heavy price. That was when they lost Luna Estella, Leander's mate and Liam's mother. He was just 6 at the time. That loss changed Leander irreparably. He fought through the pain for years, but when Liam turned 16, he finally surrendered himself to the goddess. It dawned on me how much weight had rested upon Liam's young shoulders. Taking on the role of Alpha so soon after losing his father, while I had been wrapped in the comfort of stability. Why didn't my dad just take the opposing Alpha on directly? "Your father, he would have rather erred on the side of caution," my mother explained, her voice laced with understanding. "I was pregnant with you, and he feared the risk to both of us was too great. There was no need for bloodshed. Our pack was the mightiest, and at that time, the strongest in the country. The conflict with the Shadow Falls pack forged them into their current power, but it left scars. The loss of Luna Estella haunted Leander, and ultimately, it was their tragedy that reshaped the packs." I marveled at the revelations. How had I never heard these stories before? Liam had to carry such an immense burden so young? Indeed. My mother sighed, the warmth in her eyes returning. "Your father has always been a mentor to Liam, investing in him as a future ally. That bond strengthened our ties with Shadow Falls, which continues even now." The weight of this new knowledge pressed down on me as we turned towards the pack house. I sensed an air of anticipation as we approached. My mother gestured for me to join her in her office, a place notorious for its talks. "Have a seat, son," she instructed, pouring us both a glass of wine. The rich aroma wafted through the air as I took a sip, still bracing myself for the conversation to come. "Have I upset you?" I ventured, a hint of uncertainty creeping into my tone. Instead of taking a seat, she remained at the window, overlooking the vast forest that surrounded us. "I know about the girls, Rick," she stated, her gaze fixed beyond the horizon. Panic surged through me. How did she know? Before I could muster a response, she turned to face me. Surprised? I am the Luna of this pack. What kind of Luna would I be if I didn't notice what was happening right under my nose? A brief smile flickered on her lips before fading again. Listen, you're going to inherit the mantle of alpha soon. Ideally, you'll find your mate on your birthday and settle into a blissful life together. But trust me when I say, you're creating a tumultuous path for both yourself and your potential Luna with this revolving door of relationships within. The pack. The role of Luna is challenging enough without jealousy and enmity festering amongst your past flings. I understand your needs as a young alpha, but maybe consider seeking connections outside the pack. It would spare your future mate from facing your previous lovers every day or hearing tales of your past escapades. The weight of her words settled over me like a heavy blanket, forcing me to confront the discomfort swirling within. She was an embodiment of kindness and loyalty, the very spirit of what a Luna should be, traits I deeply desired in my future mate. I hear you, mother, I finally replied, attempting to remain resolute. You're right. I don't want to start my life with my mate mired in misunderstandings or discomfort over my past. Her smile brightened the room as she stepped forward to embrace me. I love you, my sweet boy, and yes, you'll always be my sweet boy. I squeezed her back, warmth flooding my heart. I love you too, Mom. But before I could escape this deep conversation, she had one more piece of advice to share. And remember, while I would love grandbabies one day, I want them when you're ready, not from some fleeting romance. Be responsible. Mom, I said, managing to let my annoyance seep into my tone, you didn't raise me to be a fool. And just so you know, I am almost an adult. I know how to protect myself. She lifted an eyebrow, her maternal gaze steady. Okay, honey, sleep well. You too, Mom. And with that, I made my escape, grateful to evade any further embarrassment. The following morning, a palpable tension hung in the air during training, as Alpha Anders decided to test my capabilities by pitting me against 3 of his warriors. But I held my ground confidently, knowing that my father had prepared me for battles against multiple opponents for as long as I could remember. I figured 2 of them would be a mere formality. Trevor, on the other hand, was a different story entirely. Paired with the ranked wolves, he stood as their most formidable warrior. He was cunning, relying on strategy rather than brute strength, an error many warriors made when facing me. While he observed and analyzed my moves for weaknesses, he still had yet to find my true vulnerabilities, though that didn't deter his aggression. As they formed a triangle around me, I kept my eyes locked on Trevor, the greatest threat, while maintaining awareness of the other 2. The moment they settled into their positions, Trevor lunged forward, aiming a powerful punch toward my gut. I slid effortlessly beneath his outstretched arm and down to my knees, racing towards Richard, better known as the Dick, thanks to his attitude. With a calculated swing, I sent my arm crashing upward between his legs, striking a decisive blow to his family jewels. He crumpled to the ground, incapacitated. Just then, I felt a whoosh of air and instinctively dropped flat on my back, tucking my knees as Kent's foot swiped over where my head once was. As he turned with the momentum, I swiftly kicked my legs up, trapping the planted leg, and with one powerful twist, I pulled him down, dislocating his knee in the process. His cry of pain cut through the air as he writhed on the ground. Rising back to my feet, I turned my full attention to Trevor. He eyed me meticulously, strategizing his next move. With a confident smirk, I beckoned him forward with a flick of my fingers. He feigned a punch before sliding low, attempting to take out my legs. A leap, I gracefully soared over him, pivoting to deliver a roundhouse kick aimed at his head. He dodged artfully, mimicking my earlier move on Kent. Ingenious bastard. The standoff escalated into a fierce back and forth, with each of us landing blows yet unable to overpower the other. Until finally, I spotted an opening and landed a solid punch to Trevor's throat. Shock flickered in his eyes long enough for me to seize his arm, twisting it just shy of dislocation to force him to his knees. The rush of victory surged within me as I held him in that vulnerable position, earning a tap-out from Trevor before I could dislocate his shoulder. The rest of the squad erupted into applause, the sound of their cheers cascading over my victory. I helped Trevor to his feet, our rivalry softened by mutual respect. Nice job, little badass, but just know, I'm coming for you, he quipped, a cocky grin playing across his face as he turned to assist the injured Kent and Richard, returning Trevor's smile, I offered, I look forward to a real challenge someday. His laughter echoed as he helped carry Kent away. My gaze drifted towards Alpha Anders, who nodded approvingly, affirming my triumph. The school day unfolded like a blur, too quick to grasp. I noticed Rick's gaze lingering on me several times, yet I managed to dodge him, aided by his constant entourage. On our way home, Jason's voice cut through my thoughts, excitedly relaying plans for our night at the Dark Moon, the club where the packs of Canyon Ridge and Shadow Falls mingled. Friday nights had become our tradition, a spirited release after a long week. Having celebrated my 17th birthday nearly a year ago, I had been a regular at the club ever since. It was here that I often met Alpha Liam, what we had wasn't officially labeled. Friends, more than friends. He understood that I was waiting for my destined mate, so the concept of friends with benefits didn't apply. Despite the age gap, he was 24 while I was just 17. Liam respected my journey, contributing to the tension that crackled between us. He was keenly aware of my status and the choices I was making, but there was an unspoken hope that perhaps we were meant to be. I found myself drawn to him. His charm, intelligence, and wealth of strength made him a remarkable alpha and undeniably attractive. Every time he flashed that smoldering smile my way, my heart raced, igniting a warmth that I couldn't deny. After a brisk training session, I devoured a quick bite before rushing upstairs to freshen up. My phone chimed with a call from Lacey, a fellow warrior in training, checking in to make sure I was attending tonight's escapade and asking if she could tag along. I assured her that it was Jason's turn to drive, and she agreed to shoot him a text, rallying to join. Choosing my outfit with care, I slid into a snug pink crisscross top that tied alluringly at my back, paired with low-rise black jeans. A pink scarf cinched at my waist added a pop of color, accentuating my curves, while my stiletto heels, a sultry pink and black combination, lengthened my legs. I left my hair to cascade down, showcasing my natural curls, and applied just enough makeup to enhance my features for a night of dance without overdoing it, a smoky eye bringing out my emerald green eyes. As I descended the stairs, my phone buzzed. Jason was waiting outside. I bid my father goodbye, stepping into the evening air to find Jason had already picked up Lacey and another warrior, Dean. Climbing into the backseat, I greeted them with a bright smile. "Hey little badass, taken down any more alphas in the last 24 hours? Dean teased, his smirk devilish. "Not in the last 24, but the night is still young, Dean," I shot back cheekily. "What about tonight?" Lacey probed, her interest piqued. "Expecting to see a super hot alpha." I shrugged nonchalantly, aware that, while I anticipated his arrival, Liam had pressing duties beyond Friday night revelry. He had started to drive me home recently, but I didn't place too much stock in him appearing tonight, even if I sincerely hoped to catch a glimpse of him. "I can't be sure," I replied lightly, "but if I were gambling, I'd wager on it." A grin spread across my face, the thought of Liam igniting both excitement and nervousness. "Girl, that man is fine. You need to make your move and then dish all the details," Lacey urged, prompting a laugh from me. Jason's eyes flicked to meet mine in the rearview mirror, subtly curious. I rarely shared my hopes or the fact that I was saving myself for my true mate. Upon arriving at the club, we were met with a lengthy queue of partygoers, but being regulars, Jason and I effortlessly slipped to the front. The bouncer recognized us and ushered us in, eliciting grunts of dissatisfaction from those still waiting. "Looking sharp, little badass," he remarked. As I walked by, and I paused to return the compliment, even though such attention made me roll my eyes inwardly. Inside the club, the energy was electric. In our wolf culture, there were no restrictions on drinking age, our faster metabolism rendering alcohol less potent than it was for humans. We made our way to the bar and ordered shots, I bypassing beer in favor of something more conducive to dancing. After paying for the first round, Jason placed another order while I scanned the crowded room. Familiar faces dotted the space, wolves from local packs and a few newcomers. Just as I turned for another shot, my gaze met Alpha Rick's, a jolt of tension shooting through me. "Son of a bitch," I muttered, quickly clinking my glass to Jason's, Lacey's, and Dean's before downing the potent liquid that burned its way down my throat. "What's up? Who's got you bothered?" Jason asked, searching over my shoulder, trying to unravel who might taint my night. "You're 7 o'clock. I replied curtly, and he twisted around, a low whistle escaping his lips as he caught sight of Rick's unmistakable figure. "Think he'll come over here?" "Don't care," I answered dismissively. "I'm heading to the dance floor." I leaned closer, raising my voice above the thumping bass. "I'm going to shake it out. Anyone joining?" Jason promised to catch up in a minute, and with Lacey pulling me along, we ventured into the pulsating heart of the dance floor. As I began to move, rhythmic waves of sound engulfed me, and I closed my eyes. Surrounded by my fellow warriors, I felt liberated from scrutiny or unwanted advances. In this sanctuary of movement, I relished the knowledge that eventually, Liam would stroll in, searching for me amidst the thrumming crowd. Lacey leaned in, shouting to make herself heard. "Alpha Rick hasn't taken his eyes off you since we arrived. What's that about?" My shoulders shrugged in uncertainty. "He hit on me at school yesterday," I admitted. Her eyes widened in shock, but I gestured for her to lean in closer, leaning over to share. "He has no clue who I am." As the implication sank in, she paused mid-dance. "No fucking way." "Hush," I urged, leaning closer. "He asked for my name and pack." Her mouth dropped, clearly incredulous. "How could he not know? Everyone recognizes you." I shrugged again. "Guess I'm just not on the future Alpha's radar." Lacey shot another glance toward Rick, then back at me. "Consider me Team Liam from now on," she declared with determination. "That makes two of us," I replied, feeling warmth surge through me as the next song transported us into pure exhilaration, words fading in favor of movement as we danced freely among friends. As the first slow song of the night began to play, the melody caressing the air around us, I motioned to Lacey that I was heading for another shot. She nodded in agreement, falling in step with me toward the bar once again. Chapter 9. Throughout the chaotic hours of school, my mind remained fixated on her. I found myself repeatedly attempting to approach her, only to be intercepted by a throng of girls eager for a dance partner that night. Each time I fought my way towards where I thought she would be, disappointment greeted me. She vanished like a fleeting shadow. Frustration gnawed at my insides. I had never felt so irritable over the attention of other girls before. My mystery girl remained elusive, and the very thought of her kept me on edge. By the time I walked through the door of my house, my mood was sour. I released my pent-up frustration during training, pushing my fellow warriors harder than usual. Their grumbling and limping complaints fell on deaf ears. In truth, I had no inclination to join the club festivities tonight. However, Chase, filled with his usual enthusiasm, was steadfast in his insistence that we should go out. He had spotted some fiery redhead he hoped to charm that evening, but for me, all thoughts drifted back to a pair of green eyes set in a captivating brunette. Kai, my inner wolf, was equally restless, mirroring my irritation as we both brooded over the missed opportunity to speak with her. After slipping into a pair of distressed jeans and a snug black shirt, I made my way out with Chase at my side. As we approached the club, the bouncer let us bypass the lines snaking around the entrance. Once inside, the pulsing rhythm of music enveloped us. The venue buzzed with energy. Chase and I made our way to the bar, only to be instantly swarmed by a wave of eager girls. Chase swiftly ordered drinks, and we retreated to a wall where I could feign interest in the babbling around me while keeping a vigilant eye on the dance floor. He was lost in flirtation with a girl he seemed intent on taking home, while another girl, Natasha, I believe, pressed against me with almost desperate enthusiasm. I felt a hand sliding down my back while another gripped Natasha's arm as though welcoming me into some unasked-for tryst. Usually I would lean into the attention, but tonight felt different. I was preoccupied. Just as I considered extricating myself, my gaze landed on her. My heart skipped a beat as exhilaration surged. She was here. Surrounded by a trio of my warriors, including Jason, a sense of protectiveness flooded over me. They seemed engaged in light-hearted conversation, but the seed of doubt planted itself in my mind. My eyes locked onto hers as they swept across the room and landed on me, sparking that same electrifying connection we'd shared before. She quickly averted her gaze, snatching a shot from the bar as she re-engaged with Jason. Kai was stirring within me, grumbling without restraint. "Easy, Kai," I muttered to my inner beast. "They're just friends." Yet Kai remained unsatisfied, growling with jealousy, clearly not at ease with the notion. Jason's head turned in my direction, and for a moment I relished the thought that they were discussing me. I couldn't help but smile, reveling in the knowledge that I had a space in her thoughts, however small. Natasha misinterpreted my grin, using it as encouragement to slide her hand down my chest, a brazen attempt to sneak beneath my shirt. Pushing her hand away without sparing her a glance, I felt irritation rise within me. To my frustration, she simply pressed herself closer. And then, there she was again, dancing out onto the floor alongside Lacey. Her moves were mesmerizing, her body effortlessly swaying in sync with the rhythm. Damn, she was breathtaking. I felt myself reacting in ways I hadn't expected, and Kai's escalating agitation echoed in my mind. She shouldn't be surrounded by other guys in that mesmerizing outfit. I watched intently as Lacey leaned in to whisper something that appeared to catch my mystery girl off guard. The look she returned was one of shock, followed by a fleeting glance in my direction, disappointment etched onto Lacey's features. My heart raced. I was on the verge of storming the dance floor to confront the situation when she turned and headed towards the bar where Jason and Dean still stood. "Excuse me, ladies," I asserted, weaving through the mass of females clutching at my presence. Chase, ever the vigilant friend, caught up with me, concern etched on his face. "Everything all right?" he asked, falling into step beside me. "I don't know, but I plan to find out." Chase's smile broadened and he offered, "Need a wingman?" I merely shook my head. "I'm good," as I pushed onwards, my determination growing in intensity. However, my path was impeded at every few steps by girls vying for my attention. I smiled politely, pushing them to the side, but their entrapment slowed my advance, just as the slow song ended. A sharp announcement rang out, "This is for Canyon Ridge's own little badass." A roar erupted from my pack, warriors whooping with enthusiasm. My heart skipped as I noticed my girl pause, shaking her head and looking over at the DJ. She flashed him a playful smile and blew a kiss before raising her hands above her head, launching herself into the vibrant dance floor. She was clearly familiar with the song, blending seamlessly with the chorus of girls singing in unison, their voices filled with empowerment as they sassed the guys surrounding them. I leaned against the bar, catching my breath, only for Alpha Liam to arrive beside me, also ordering a beer. "Isn't she something?" he remarked, sparking an ember of irritation within me. "Yeah, she is," I replied, wary of revealing how utterly lost I felt about her while it seemed that everyone else was perfectly in the know. As the tempo quickened, she began to shake her hips with abandon, igniting a primal fire within me. My thoughts grew increasingly inappropriate, my desire surged like a tidal wave. I fought to regain control, yet the need surged stronger with each sway of her body. Liam, still engrossed in her allure, took a sip of his beer. "You're lucky to have her in your pack," he commented, gaze still locked on her. "But seriously, I plan on stealing her for myself." His sincerity settled like a stone in the pit of my stomach. Kai roared in protest in my mind, urging me to claim what felt instinctively to be mine. I responded to Kai more calmly than I felt, "Chill out. She hasn't chosen anyone yet, and we don't even know if she's meant for us." I forced Kai's discontent deeper within my consciousness, needing to focus on Liam. He was not a fool, there was a reason he had his sights set on her. "Good luck with that," I countered, hoping to learn more. "I haven't lost a warrior to another pack yet." Liam halted, his beer bottle hovering midair, turning to me with all seriousness. "You don't know who she is, do you?" My heart sank. Time to fake it till I make it. "Of course I do. She's a warrior in my pack," I mentioned nonchalantly, feigning indifference. Liam's smile morphed into something predatory, suggesting a hidden delight in my ignorance. "Interesting. Maybe there's hope for me after all." He turned, moving towards the dance floor as a slow song began to play. My spirit sank as my eyes focused on her again. The smile she flashed Liam knocked the wind from my lungs. How I longed for her to smile at me with that same warmth. Watching her wrap her arms around his neck and see him pull her closer made the wolf in me howl with frustration. Chase slid up next to me, an arm draped around the girl he'd been flirting with, catching the direction of my gaze. "That's her, with Alpha Liam?" he questioned, concern coloring his tone. "Yeah," I grumbled. "Apparently they're close." Chase's brow furrowed. "You don't look too happy about it." "Not really," I admitted. I was still grappling with my bewildering emotions, my connection to her seemingly growing heavier by the moment. They continued to dance as the songs changed, oblivious to the escalating storm brewing within me. The intimacy of their connection stung, each whisper and flirtation they shared pulling taut the fraying threads of my composure. I was on the verge of snarling, unwilling to witness how he embraced her, when suddenly he took her by the hand, guiding her off the dance floor. Panic surged through me. I instinctively began to follow, uncertain of the course of action I intended to take when several of my warriors approached. Trevor, one of our best fighters, stepped into my space, and I could already feel my temper igniting. "What the hell, Alpha?" Trevor's words sounded through the layers of my growing rage. The others nodded along, sensing my tension. Chase stepped closer in support. "What's your deal, Trevor? Care to explain before I remind you who's in charge?" Chase fired back. It was a warning, barely contained. Dean, one of the warriors who'd been chatting with my girl earlier, stepped forward. "You don't know who Kara Nelson is?" he asked incredulously. I shot him a look that could have melted steel. "Sure I do." Everyone knows Kara Nelson, I replied, stepping dangerously close to him, a storm brewing in the depths of my gut. Then why did she just tell Lacey that you have no idea who she is? Trevor countered, all eyes turned on me expectantly. Panic surged through me, colliding with confusion. I have no idea, I muttered, the pieces of my world beginning to disassemble. Trevor pressed, so you didn't even ask her what her name was or which pack she's from while you were hitting on her? The reality of their questions struck me like a bolt from the blue. I had failed to know who she was. I don't think I've ever actually met Kara Nelson. What does she look like? My voice dropped to a whisper laced with an impending sense of dread. Trevor's expression turned serious. She's the one who just left with Alpha Liam. My world tilted on its axis. The realization crashed over me, a relentless tide of despair. My mystery girl, the one who had ignited a fire within me, the one who had not submitted to my advances, was the broken warrior's daughter, my guardian. As I caught sight of Alpha Rick striding purposefully toward the bar where I stood, a sudden surge of instinct propelled me back towards the dance floor. Just as I stepped away, the DJ's voice crackled through the speakers, echoing with the unmistakable introduction of "Who Runs the World?", a blatant dedication to me. An electrifying wave of cheer erupted from the warriors of my pack, each roar and shout ringing in my ears. Those rascals. I knew this was a calculated move to put me on the spot, to humiliate me in front of everyone. But little did they know, I was ready to flip the script. I was going to embrace this moment, and beside me, Lacey matched my energy as we surged ahead, igniting the dance floor with fierce pride. One by one, more girls joined our ranks, embodying the spirit and attitude of true warriors, turning the atmosphere into a vibrant celebration of strength. And when the final notes faded, we howled triumphantly, asserting our dominance over the men around us. As I lifted my gaze, my heart jolted at the sight of Liam's radiant smile, a vision that could summon the very sun. Oh goddess, that smolder was intoxicating. My dark jeans concealed any evidence of the blazing heat coursing through me, but it was a losing battle. I could feel a betraying dampness betraying my ravenous desire for that alluring man. I danced through a couple more up-tempo tracks, my heart racing with the knowledge that Liam was biding his time for the next slow song. When it finally graced the air, he emerged from the crowd, the other dancers parting like the sea, his presence commanding and magnetic. My gaze locked onto his sage-green eyes. His were a lighter hue than my own, yet the intensity within them quickened my pulse, sending a delightful flutter through my stomach. As he approached, I instinctively wrapped my arms around his neck while he settled his hands onto my waist, drawing me closer until the warmth of his breath stirred against my skin. Leaning in, he murmured softly into my ear, "Hello, beautiful, still saving yourself for me?" A purr escaped me before I caught myself, quickly reverting to my usual teasing retort. "You know I'm saving myself for my mate." With a slight lift of his brow, he pulled back enough to lock eyes with me. "Right, saving yourself for me, just as I said." I couldn't help but laugh, it was so typical of the cocky alpha. He tucked me back against him, and I closed my eyes, surrendering to the intoxicating embrace of his strength and scent, the thrill of his playful banter igniting my senses. Every element of him drew me in, his aura, humor, magnetism. It was impossible to resist. As we swayed, his whisper caressed my ear. "You look hot as hell, did you wear this for me?" I leaned back, letting a playful smirk cross my lips. "Maybe." A low growl rumbled from his chest, and my reaction was instantaneous. The heat building within me was a force of nature, the world fading away. His smile widened, and I could practically feel the electricity between us, as my body responded unmistakably to his presence, a soft affirmation of desire. He brushed his nose against mine, teasingly. "Someone seems to enjoy the sound of my growl." "Perhaps," I replied, fingers tangling in his sandy blonde curls, thicker than my own, and just the way I adored them, tousled yet charming. We were lost in our own realm, music fading into the background as I felt the undeniable pressure of his arousal against me. "I love the way you smell, but if you keep filling the air with your allure, baby, I'll have to whisk you away from here. No one but me gets to experience that." A laugh tumbled from my lips. Leaning closer, I whispered playfully, "Then perhaps you should reconsider your actions that so easily rile me up, Alpha." I relished in the knowing growl that reverberated from him, stronger and more potent, a mark of his possessiveness. It was a delicate dance we performed, flirting along the line between teasing and tempting. I didn't want him to think I'd give him what I wasn't ready to. Yet, he was an alpha, young and undeniably captivating. The thought lingered unspoken. Was he holding out for me too? That was a query for another day, one we'd never broached. Still, a part of me knew if I asked, he wouldn't hesitate. But that felt unjust, so here we were, dancing around desire like warriors preparing for a battle of hearts. His possessive growl sent a thrill through me, an avalanche of heat intensifying my own scent, luring him closer. He gently pulled my hands from around his neck, a playful challenge glinting in his eyes. "Don't say I didn't warn you." He stepped away, guiding me off the dance floor toward the entrance of the club, pausing only to wave goodbye to my friends who wore knowing smirks. Once outside, Liam wrapped an arm around my waist, pulling me against him. "Are you cold, baby?" he asked, concern etching his features. Despite Wolves' resilience to chill, I felt the winter biting at my skin. "I am a bit, but I'll survive until we reach the car," I replied with a smile. He opened the door to his Ford Raptor and effortlessly lifted me into the passenger seat, the freshness of the night air awakening my senses. Leaning over, I nuzzled my nose against his neck, eliciting a growl of pleasure that vibrated through me, igniting my pulse. He retrieved a jacket from the back, laying it gently over my shoulders. "Keep that up, love and mate or not, you'll be in my bed tonight." He studied me for a moment, gauging my response before planting a swift kiss on my lips and shutting my door. Sliding into the driver's seat, he cranked the engine and blasted the heat. Turning to me, he asked casually, "Interested in grabbing a coffee? There's an all-night cafe not too far from here." My heart raced at the idea, and I lit up. Absolutely. We arrived at the cafe, the cozy ambience a stark contrast to the cold outside. Only a handful of patrons lingered at this late hour. Choosing a booth by the window, Liam settled across from me, and soon enough we'd placed our orders, coffee on my end and a hearty steak and potatoes for him. I couldn't resist a slice of apple pie, knowing there's a high chance Liam would indulge. Once the waitress departed, Liam reached across the table and grasped my hands in his, the intensity of his gaze piercing through me. "Tell me about your hopes and dreams, Kara." Wow, that escalated quickly. I offered him a charming smile, eager to redirect the deeper conversation. "Well, Liam, I enjoy romantic dinners and walks on the beach," I teased. He rolled his eyes in mock exasperation, waiting for me to continue. "I also appreciate a man who can dance and respects a strong, intelligent woman." His grin was infectious, illuminating the dimness. "Then, apparently, I'm the man for you." When our waitress resurfaced with our orders, he reluctantly released my hands. I watched as he expertly sliced into his steak, thoughts swirling within me. "Liam," I ventured, "I care for you deeply. I truly hope that you are my fated mate." The words felt like both a promise and a plea. For now, I'll hold on to that hope. "But if fate decides otherwise, I really want you to consider being my chosen mate," he stated earnestly, his expression unwavering. "You deserve happiness, Kara. I see you fighting for your respect, for your rightful place as a warrior. I want you to have that, an equal stand beside me because your ferocity is captivating." I was taken aback by his solemn declaration, my heart racing. "Liam, but the words caught in my throat. You don't need to say anything now." "I just wanted to be honest about my feelings," he insisted. The waitress returned with my pie just as I struggled for a response. "I promise to consider what you've told me," I replied finally, conviction wrapping around my words. His smile bloomed, contagious and bright. "That's all I ask, Kara." The sweet taste of the apple pie coaxed a sigh of bliss from my lips, my head tilting back in sheer delight. I closed my eyes momentarily, savoring the moment until I caught Liam's rapt gaze fixed on me, his food momentarily forgotten. "Kara, I have to say, I hope one day I'm the one inspiring those sounds from you. And trust me, that will just be the beginning." Heat flooded my cheeks as his intentions hung thick in the air. His gaze was primal, hungry, sending a delicious thrill through me. The tension crackled between us, weaving an undeniable connection that felt electric. After devouring our meal, Liam drove me home, his presence a comforting weight beside me. As we arrived, he jumped out, rushing to open my door. The night air was crisp, and as I began to step out, he suddenly froze, his focus trained on the trees beyond. "What is it?" I asked, following his gaze, but saw nothing. "Nothing," he muttered, shaking his head as we walked to my door. He wrapped his strong arms around me, soaking in warmth and comfort. "Remember what I said tonight, Kara. I meant every word." With that, he drew me in, kissing me softly. At first a tender promise, but the flames of passion ignited swiftly, and suddenly I was lost in his mouth, drowning in the kiss. Artemis surged forward, tangled in the heat of it all as our mouths moved together. When he finally pulled away, breathless, I gripped him tightly, dizzy from the whirlwind of emotions. His eyes, darkened with desire, met mine, and an electric current sparked between us. Artemis purred within me, addressing Liam's wolf, "Hello, Siren." His growl resonated with authority, deeper and gravelly, igniting sensations within me that sparked warmth. "Artemis," came Siren's reply, his voice laced with admiration. Balancing both sides of ourselves, I pulled back, letting the moment settle. Liam leaned forward, foreheads touching, the weight of unspoken promises wrapping around us. "One day soon, I hope we can explore this connection fully. Until then, sweet dreams. I hope you dream of me." As he stepped backward, he shot me a playful wink. I blew him a kiss, and he caught it dramatically, pulling it to his heart as I giggled, enchanted. Waving goodbye, I entered my home, the lingering echo of a wolf howling in the night, wrapping around me like a cloak of promise and anticipation.
To listen to full and free The Broken Warrior's Daughter, please access the website, novelsaudio.com, and search keywords, The Broken Warrior's Daughter, or click the link in the description of this video.